Hello, avid readers, book nerds, and casual observers, and welcome to the Read Along brought to you by the Lit Round Table. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Anna, and today we're talking about The Light of the Midnight Stars by Rena Rossner.
All right, welcome to part 9.
Woo woo.
This part is going to get super fun and a little freaky.
Yeah, but before we do that...
Not in a scary way, but yeah, what are you going to say?
Before we get to the fun, we have our epigraph, which this one we get a little history of the region, and we learn about King Basarab, who granted the religious freedom. He came over the mountains. And he married a lady that who was already pregnant. They were both widows. Widower. She had a baby. They had another baby. That's really all you need to know.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
I may have revealed a little bit about the next one, but no, I did not. So.
Nice. Good job.
Yes. But that's the important thing. Religious freedom, and he has 2 kids. And then we start with an Anna chapter.
Anna. It's your girl. So we start off with let's see. How does this one start? Remind me. They're not going into the woods yet, are they? Or is that pretty much how it starts?
Before they go into the woods, I guess she's having this renewed sense of protecting her sisters. She's kind of snapping out of the wilty, sad person, and trying to be a little braver for them.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really.
Oh yeah, she's joking more.
Yeah.
She's participating more in the weird, the fun, goofy sibling stuff.
Yeah. She doesn't really want to keep going to the forest, but Stana keeps going to the forest, and she knows it's because she wants to see Gavriel, so she's going along because she feels bad about the whole Gavriel situation. And
Laptitza tags along too.
Yes.
Because she's the third wheel in the sister group.
She is. But she's participating more, which is not what we are used to seeing from her either, so that's kind of nice. And she's still having episodes of hallucination and things turning into ash. Even in the forest. So, and then we encounter the hunting party again.
They're back. It's kind of funny, the interaction they're having, because they're talking about they're having this fun thing where they're just oh, what would you do if you if you had to marry one of them, just a weird
which one would you
pick? What's that
game? Kind of like MASH.
That's the game. Thank you. I was trying to figure out I was trying to remember what the game was called. They were basically playing MASH about the huntsman and that whole group of people until they get spotted.
Right.
by the group.
Yes. But there's a lot to say before they get spotted.
Yeah.
Because in this whole game, they're well, if I had a husband, and Anna starts, she says she'll make her husband strawberry bread. And she has this whole reason for why she'd make him strawberry bread. It's very cute.
And it came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting her to say anything.
Right, because obviously. Because she's still grieving.
And then everyone was "Aw, you're you're trying to be happy."
Yeah, I mean, it's cute.
Yeah.
And then Stana kind of one-ups her and says that she'll make her husband a shirt of tree branches that will turn to armor when he puts it on, which is in line with her weaving the tallit for Gavriel, as a way of protecting him. So she's still very focused on protecting whoever her person is.
Yeah.
And then they both turn to Laptitza, and she's described as if she's holding a secret. So it makes me wonder timeline for some of these things, because as we know, the order that we're reading them in isn't always the order that they happen in.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff.
And she says, "Oh, I'm gonna marry a star," or she's like, I'm not going to marry a man. I'm going to marry a star. And I'm going to have twin sons. And then she's got like this whole thing about one of them's going to have a gold star on his forehead. The other one's going to have a silver star on his forehead. And like they're going to have these different roles to play. And it's very weird.
She's so weird, dude.
She's so weird.
Like, if I were like Stana or Anna, I would have been like, okay.
I mean, that's kind of what they did. They were like,
uh-huh. You freak. What are you talking about?
And then they're spotted.
What kind of mushrooms are in your bag?
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then they're spotted by the group. Mm-hmm. And this is when Anna almost jumps up to like interact with the party to like cover for the sisters, and then right as she's about to get up, it cuts to Stana chapter, mm-hmm. and Stana gets up and kind of takes one for the team. And
right. Well, Anna feels pulled to do this. Like mm-hmm. I don't think she really wants to, but she feels like something's pulling her to do it. And then it goes to Stana.
Yeah.
And maybe she is feeling brave in that moment for like the first time in mm-hmm. a long time. But Stana...
Then we do get the Stana chapter. She leaps to action.
Yes, she acts like she's sacrificing herself for the others.
Yeah. Oh, me, a martyr. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go do this thing mm-hmm. so that you'll all owe me one. Mm-hmm. And then, so she stands up and interacts with this hunting party, and it's a pretty quick. Her section is pretty fast. It's just the interaction with the group. The guy, does he take his helmet off in this section? I think he does.
He does. His name is Theodore.
And he takes off his helm, and his luscious red locks of hair tumble down to his shoulders, and he shakes his head, and there's like sunlight that gleams off the hair, and it's like super dramatic, and like it's like a shampoo commercial, and then we realize that Stana has a type.
Well, she thinks it's Gabriel for like the briefest moment.
Yeah.
And then she's like, except that he doesn't really have the same face. It doesn't really look like him. He just has red hair like him.
Yeah.
Yep. And then more weirdness happens, and he asks her to join him on his hunting trip, which I thought was weird. And she politely refuses him. And rightly so.
Yes. Rain check.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes, don't go away with this weird hunter in the middle of the forest.
With this stranger.
Yeah.
And I don't think they actually give up. They don't actually give up information about like where they're living or who they are necessarily. She was pretty cagey.
She doesn't even really reveal that she's with her sisters in the woods, I don't think.
Right. Yeah. She does a good job. She does a good job covering.
She does.
And they do manage to get away from that interaction unscathed. Although, that's not the last we're going to see of the red-haired Theodore. I mean...
Well, no. Based on the fact that we have a name for him now.
Yes.
He will be coming back.
His name's Theodore.
Because you don't name characters that aren't ever coming back.
I mean...
It's a rule of writing. You shouldn't name characters that aren't coming back.
Unless you're trying to fake someone out.
It's just, well...
Keep them on their toes.
But that's a different thing.
Here, have some pointless information. Mm-hmm. He's a red herring. Get it? Red herring? Thanks. Thanks for the pity laugh.
You're welcome.
So yeah, that's Stana's chapter. She covers for the group. They get away.
Yep.
That's basically it.
They don't have to like run away. They just, because she does a good job.
Yeah, I mean the hunting party goes off to hunt, and then the sisters go back home.
Right. Yep.
It was just kind of a little introduction to Theodore. Mm-hmm. And then we get Laptitza.
Yes.
Walk me through it, Anna.
Okay, I can do that. So she sneaks away again at night, and she's in the forest, and she's reaching up with her hands, and she feels like the star is like coming towards her finally. And she's reaching for the stars until she feels the star touch her hand. And then there's a man in the star, and he is naked.
I was going to say, a naked man.
Yes.
Oh, my.
Clothed in light. And then there's lots of touching. Like, he's touching her face, and he's touching her neck and her arms, and she's touching him. It's very intimate.
Sensual.
And then she kisses him, and he's, like, surprised. And then it, like, becomes poetry, which Rena Rossner, in her other book, it's like one sister only ever writes in poetry and the other one writes prose. So I'm excited to see some more poetry.
Interesting.
But the poetry was basically a lot of metaphors for a very intimate act that you would not expect a 13-year-old to have, let alone with a star.
Yeah.
And I had should we include this? I had written in parentheses, like, as I was reading, sex ? Like, is that what's happening right now? And then it becomes very clear, like, within the next 3 lines, like, yes, in fact, that is what is happening right now.
Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely. So I want to pause here and just talk about how much I appreciate the way that Rena Rossner handled the writing of this section, because it's not like graphic or like in your face. It's very clear what happened. And my other note is she's only 13. Ooh. Eek.
Yeah. I feel gross about that.
But she does remind us that a lot of Laptitza's peers are already married. So it's a cultural thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still strange
it's
for
weird
us.
for us. Yeah.
Yes.
Really weird for us.
So is there anything you would like to elaborate on that particular moment in the story?
Yeah, like you said, I was like, this was playing in an audiobook, so for me, I was listening to it, so I didn't actually pick up that it switched to poetry.
Oh, yeah.
So that's cool. So I didn't really pick up on that. I mean, the way that she was speaking was very poetic, but it was just one of those, I didn't know that that's how it was actually written into the book. So that's cool. Yeah, and like you said, it was super not clear, and then suddenly super, super clear what exactly was about to happen here. Like, there was the kiss moment, and then I was like, oh, so this went from like the touching was weird, but like it's a star. It's a naked star man. So at first I thought it was just like a weird like curiosity thing, like poking a frog, like that you're curious about. But then she kissed the star man, and then the star man kissed back, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is what's happening right now. And then things get heated, and it's very clear that they actually had some kind of sex. Like,
right.
And she does talk about how she felt like literal like cloud 9. Like she felt like she was on top of the world, and there was like a burning sensation in her belly that she mentioned a couple of times, and that honestly makes me wonder, like, pregnant? Did you just get impregnated by a starman?
Right. This is where I'm wondering, like, timeline when this happened, because of the comment she made in the forest in the Anna section.
Yeah, it would make sense for this to happen beforehand. I think maybe that's the case.
Yeah. So we had some foreshadowing earlier that she's been canoodling with a star. Yeah.
But then she, once this happens, now I'm getting mixed up between like the real event and like the story that she tells.
Right, because
Anna later.
Well, she tells Stana in this. It's Stana in this
Stana.
section. So, after her experience with the star, he leaves, and she puts her clothes back on and goes back to her bed and gets in bed and is like warm fuzzy, and goes to sleep. And then at some point, maybe the next morning, early, Stana comes to her bed and is asking her something. She's asking her what she sees when she looks up at the stars. And Laptitza asks her if she can tell her a story. And then she tells her the story.
Yeah, basically like a fairy tale version of what just happened to her with...
Kind of. With some things changed.
The Starman. Yeah, like this, like the girl is a princess this time, and she's going to the forest, and then there's a Starman that comes down, and they don't like they kiss, but in the story she's not like, and then the Starman and the princess had sex. She doesn't say that in the story. It's they kissed, and there's like, okay, the princess and the Starman have a romantic connection, and then it's all about the princess trying to convince the Starman to stay. And she's like, I'm cold, I have to go back and get my coat, but please stay here, I'll bring you a coat too, and some food, and we'll like run away together and all this stuff. And then the princess leaves to get some things and comes back, and the Starman's not there anymore. So that's...
Yeah. And then the very end of that little section, Stana's like, that's a beautiful story. And Laptitza says something. What does she say?
Stana says, where'd you hear it from? Like, where'd you hear that story? And then Laptitza says, it's like the best stories.
The most beautiful stories are true.
Yeah, it's true. And so she kind of just told Stana, I'm in love with the Starman, but kind of not.
Right.
Yeah, it was such a weird chapter. It was so weird.
It was very unexpected.
Well written.
Yes.
Everything has been well written, but just like, huh.
Like, I'm just waiting for all the pieces to fall together, and for like that aha moment I know is going to be so rich. And I just want it so bad. And we're not even, we're like kind of halfway.
We're kind of halfway.
So there's lots of room for like that aha moment to happen, but I'm just so excited for it, which is, I mean, just a testament to Rena Rossner's writing, honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah. But yeah, then I think Laptitza does mention how she feels bad for Stana because now her and Anna have both done this intimate thing with another person, and Stana never got to be with Gavriel like that. And so she feels bad for Stana in that way. She mentions that. Yeah. And then Stana gets up and leaves, and Laptitza goes back to sleep.
Yep.
And that's her section. And that was her longest chapter that we've had so far. And the weirdest.
Yes.
On brand.
Very. Our weird little star girl. So true now.
Yep. Yeah. For sure. So yeah, that was this section. So we'll get into it even more in the next one with some follow-up with the events. The next section is very much like follow-up of the events that happened in this one.
It's a much chiller section.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So anyway, come see us in that video, or not necessarily video if you're listening to this, in the next episode part. That'll be out by now also, so go check it out. And yeah, until then, happy reading.
And we'll talk at you next time.
Later.
Bye.